welcome back to my channel. If you are new here and like the video, be sure to hit the like and subscribe button for more content. Thank you for watching. Hello everybody, welcome to this one shot. I don't even remember what inspired this, but I hardcore hyper fixated on this. It just came out of nowhere. I made a community post saying I will binge the shit out of this, and then I will hyper fixate like it's nobody business. And then not even 24 hours later, I'm like, okay, yeah, got 15,000 characters, let's do this. But on the main note, this is my 5K special, and I just can't thank you guys enough, and I would not be able to do it without any of y'all. So this is the least I can do, and just thank you so much. By the way, this is hardcore angst, yeah. Growing up, Akashi read a lot of books. And with those books came beautiful tales with their own characters. With those characters came their own stories. The origin was what determined if they were good or if they were evil. It also determined if their story would end on a good note or if their love would be ripped away. If you learned anything from those books, it was that even heroes don't get their happy endings. That is something he would always stand by. Yet, as the time went on and the leaves changed their colors with the seasons changing, he too found the light of his life. That light is Bokuto. Meeting in high school, no one could have thought that the two different individuals with such opposing personalities would be such a perfect match. But that was exactly the case with the couple. Their story started at a soft, crispy page with fresh ink dancing with the stroke of a hand, writing the perfect meet. The perfect first kiss that appeared on a walk home with a soft breeze running through their hair, which was slightly damp because they just got back from practice. But the vibrant hues from the sunset cascaded their outline as their lips met, heavy breathing harshly from their nose so they wouldn't have to pull away. Nothing could have topped that moment. That was until Akashi's graduation, where he was already guaranteed a shared apartment with his lover. The front door to their home was slammed open, the older holding the smaller in his strong, well-toned arms, taking the first steps in. We finally did it, Kashi. Yes, we did, Bokuto-san. He smiled warmly, his cheeks dusting a rosy color. Oh, come on, we share a home now. You could at least drop the sun. He pouted, but it was adorable. He loved teasing the owl like this. I'm thinking of something a little bit more different. He smirked, his lips turning upwards that foreshadowed that he was absolutely up to no good. What would that be? He answered cheerfully, completely oblivious to what was about to happen. Even still, his grip still held strong on his lover. Akashi leaned up to where his chest was pressing against the ladders, all while he was still holding on to him, and pressed his lips lightly against his ear. He placed a small and subtle kiss before whispering, "I like Kotaro." That did it for him. The former captain was a blushing mess, running into the bedroom before realizing that the room was still empty. The action made the Raven laugh, realizing how close he got to not being able to walk tomorrow. Just wait, once we get moved, there won't be anyone to interrupt us. He set his lover down, his hands roaming against his waist while the latter found his fingers playing with Bokuto's hair, his arms laid carelessly over his shoulders. I can't wait. Their little home is soon filled with their belongings and, most importantly, love. Not a single day went by without laughing and smiles in its wake, and both of the former Fukurodani players even thought of marriage and their future. Although, something still lingered in the back of the Raven's mind. The books. Every single book he's read tells him that it shouldn't be going this smoothly, or maybe he just read too much fan fiction, but that's besides the point. The next time they sat down to eat dinner, Bokuto reveals an out-of-this-world secret that proved every single doubt he ever had. He couldn't have been more right. Bokuto seemed antsy, moving side to side in his chair while cutting into a steak. Is everything okay? This seemed far from it. Normally the owl would ramble on about his day. This time it was quiet. No, not really. He set his silverware down, looking up at his lover who had a look of worry in his warm blue eyes. Did something happen at practice? No. There's been something I've been keeping from you. He paled. This was new. Not once had they ever kept something from each other. They were always well rehearsed with communicating about everything. How long have you kept it? Since, well, the beginning really. Okay, so at least it wasn't cheating. Akashi hated himself for even thinking that as a possibility. But after all of these years, he's just now saying something about it. It must be big. Well, I'm listening. So tell me, do you believe in magic? Magic? He had a bewildered look on his face, setting his own silverware down, leaning back in his seat with his arms crossed. I mean, I read about it all the time, but as far as real life, maybe? I haven't thought too much on it. It does. Magic exists in our world. But with magic, so doesn't curses. What are you trying to say? He got up and walked over to Bokuto's side, finding their hands in one another. I'm about to tell you a story, one that took place before I was born, before even my older sisters were born. This was a story about his parents. His mother came from a long line of talented mages, and she too was a one-of-a-kind prodigy, a fresh teenager making her way out into the world. His father, however, was a normal human, so they had their differences, but became that couple that was gross to look at because of how madly in love they were. They became with child. Her stomach grew in size, and his mother even decided to put down the spellbooks for good, not wanting to bring her children into this. This was not taken so kindly by the council that made the laws for every magic barrow because she was talented. Their outbursts revealed her location to what Bokuto would call evil uncle. But he'd hardly be called family. In fact, he'd had an undying love for his mother and even confessed he had of course been rejected since she had eyes on a mortal. So he cursed her. Well, not her so to say, but her unborn child. Not my child. Anything but that. She wept, grasping at her swollen belly. Do not fret, my love. I will never love you. She spat, wiping the malicious smirk off of his face, and Seti glared at the mortal standing behind her. He had no powers, yet his posture said he was not afraid. He hated it all. I will curse your firstborn son to fate worse than death itself. On his 25th birthday, the curse will take course. Not knowing the gender of her child in her stomach, she grimaced. Please, don't do this. Oh, darling, don't worry. You will live a good life and have many children. In fact, the one in your belly will be spared since it's a girl. I want you to live in fear, not knowing which child will be cursed. He stormed off after explaining how there was a way to break the curse, but that was worse than accepting it entirely. You're cursed? Yeah. They had moved to the couch midway through the story, their food left untouched. It was a lot to take in. Wait, What even is the curse? On my 25th birthday. That's what scared him. That was only days away. He could see it on the calendar. I will die. The air began to feel too thick. The ability to even comprehend what oxygen was close to nothing. Bokuto will die. And he can't do anything about it. His lip quivered at the thought. No. There must be a way to break the curse. You said there was a way. What is it? He was practically in the toller's lap, begging for an answer, but the owl only looked at him with sad eyes. They spoke a million words. I can't tell you. Why? Why won't you tell me? If there's a way to save you, I'll do it. That's exactly why I won't tell you. His arms wrapped around Akashi, taking in his sweet scent, holding him like it would be the last time, and that chance became greater by the day. I was selfish. I was so fucking selfish, Keiji. It never occurred to me how little my life was. I grew up with looks of pity before I could even comprehend what happened. His grip squeezed on tighter like Akashi was his lifeline, and ironically enough, it was. I forced myself to believe it was just a distant thought, but I met you. I never meant to bring you into this. I'm so sorry. I truly believed I had escaped my fate, but even now as the days grow closer, I feel it. I feel the curse like magic coursing through my veins. That's why I had to tell you. He cried into his lover's shirt. There has to be another way. You have magic, right? I do, but I don't think it'll work. His mother's plan was to keep her children away from magic and let them never know. However, after the curse, she had no other choice. His sisters learned magic so they could protect the firstborn son. There has to be another way. Maybe your mother? I'm sorry, Keiichi. All he did was apologize. It was like he had given up entirely. Ko, this is your life. This is our life. Please. He grasped the older's face in his hands, brushing the tears away. Don't give up. I beg of you. For me. It all hurt. It was too much. Everything Akashi ever knew, what kept hidden in the pages of books, each story may be different, but the knowledge he gained, well, that was a different thing. In his books, this is where the story truly began, and this is where the couple will be stacked against all odds. It was the day before Bokuto's birthday. There was no breakthroughs. He said he hadn't given up, but the look of doom in his golden eyes was evident. His body had grown weaker, like his own magic was poison. Keiji took matters into his own hands. He knocked on the door, greeted by the woman he'd been searching for. Hi, Keiji. How can I break the curse? He hadn't even entered, nor let her finish, but the look in her eyes reflected Bokuto's, knowing her son's death was approaching. Hasn't Cole told you? No. He refuses, and I can't sit back and watch him die. His voice cracked involuntarily, but steadied himself, seeing the older woman with a soft smile on her face. That sounds like him. What is it? I'll do it. I'll make sure it happens. I just need to save him. To break the curse, it comes with a cost. He sat down, leaning closer, ready to hear the words. It's you. His ears began to ring. What? A fate worse than death. Since the mage that cursed him didn't believe in love, he never planned on it costing Cole's life. He planned on making Cole sacrifice that love. Something far worse than death for him would be losing you. Either way, after tomorrow, their story ends. It's not fair. It only just begun. I have to die for him to live? His lover's pleads from day prior when he claimed he was selfish began to make sense. I'm sorry if I hadn't. Don't be. His vision began tainted with tears, his ocean blue eyes glowing in the most catastrophic way. If you hadn't, I never would have even met him. That was the truest blessing. He has my heart. It only ever was his. There was no selfishness in his actions. This is just what was written before our time. Thank you for bringing him into this world. She sobbed, pulling him into a bone-crushing hug, muttering apologies left and right, knowing that no amount of apologizing could mend the broken heart. If Bokuto dies, Akashi will be withering in anguish, and if Akashi dies, the curse will be broken, but he will live out his days in misery, just as planned. In defeat, Akashi made his way back home to his lover to spin out their final moments. Either way, to break the curse wasn't really breaking it. It was the true fate worse than death. He didn't know what to do. He didn't want him to die, but he also doesn't want him to live on with the curse still over his shoulders. He sniffled, making it to the bed where the weak Bokuto was. Keiji, I was afraid I'd miss you. He smiled in relief, but the latter frowned, realizing he meant when he died. It was only an hour till midnight. Why didn't you tell me? He cried into the former spiker's hand. He stayed silent. What do I do? What do I do, Ko? I don't know anymore. We were supposed to get married and live a long life together. This isn't fair. He cried, letting his emotions break loose like a dam that kept the waters at bay for far too long. The dresser. The right top drawer. There's the box. Their story ended too soon. Akashi stood up, walking over to the dresser that will soon be vacant. Everything he owns will mean nothing once he's gone. I know I probably should have done this sooner, knowing what will happen, but I guess I was nervous. He laughed lightly, sitting up and taking the box from his lover's trembling hands. Inside was a ring. The sobs emitting from the smaller became more violent, more desperate for some miracle. I know it's too late now, but you can think of it as a keepsake for when I'm gone. He took the ring, sliding it on his finger and taking the other, putting it on Bokuto's much thinner fingers. I do. In the box, there's letters that I've been writing ever since I could remember, because I knew whoever I fell in love with, they would get lonely and I wouldn't be able to comfort them, so this was the next best thing. Go. I'm sorry I can't give you the future you deserve. You gave me everything. I was never worthy of your love, but I promise to look over you even after the curse takes me away. You promised you wouldn't give up. He cried into his hands, steadying every breath coming from the owl, knowing one day he won't remember how he looked breathing. He will soon forget his voice. He'll forget what he looks like. He will forget everything. I'm sorry. He looked over towards the clock. No. Not yet. Give him more time. I love you, Keiji. Nothing can ever change that. Not even this curse. The next life. He blurted out. The next life we will meet with no curse and magic. We will live out our days happy. We will meet again, Kotaro. Just wait for me. He smiled weakly. I'd wait 1,000,000 years if that's what it would take. He took in his final breath. His magic became the very thing that killed him, breaking him into nothing. Akashi screamed, seeing his lover was no longer a part of this world. He held his body close as it was drastically turning as cold as the air. He was gone. His light was gone. Even though there was so much left unsaid, there was hope. Their next life. Akashi woke up. It was the same every day, like his body wasn't his. His memory of everything was hazy and simply didn't give a care about anything. He slipped out of bed and found the courage to put on clothes and leave the house. It's been a while since he did that much. It seemed like anything these days became too much for him. Walking down the sidewalk, he noticed it was a relatively beautiful day out with the birds chirping at the morning sun. The mildew from the grass stained the bottom of his pants, but he oddly enough didn't mind it. A jogger going past him bumped into his shoulder, and panicked the stranger spun around. I'm sorry. I thought I dodged you, but I have poor judgment with that. It's okay. I barely noticed. He ripped his headphones out, flashing a bright smile. I'm new around this area, by the way. Bokuto Kotaro is the name. The raven smiled at the familiarity. Akashi Keiji. The dull pages that were filled with sorrow had newer ones sewn into the spine, beginning their new journey. It was only the beginning. Yeah, so this is where hardcore hyperfocusing gets you. I hope you enjoyed it. There was a lot of angst. I did tear up when writing this, I will admit. But I do hope that you enjoyed it, and plus the somewhat happy ending. It wasn't the same life, but whatever. Do we really do that with BokuAka though? Like in another life? Like, it doesn't really matter if it's in the same life. Anyways, thank you everyone again for 5K subscribers. It's still crazy. 5,000 people watch my content. Why? But yes, I will see you guys next week. Thank you so much for watching. As always, if you'd like to be kept up to date, check out any of my social medias. I hope that you all have a wonderful day or evening.